Hey, what's up guys, Madar Good Development. In this video, I'm installing picture frame trim on a dining room wall. Now I know there's a lot of videos out there with this. It's a very easy project, but in my video, I'm gonna share some tips and tricks that will make the job go much faster and more accurate. First thing you wanna pick out is your picture frame trim. I picked these from Home Depot. You can see it in the next slide coming up. Reason why you want to figure out your trim first, it will help you with the measurements. Let's go over what you're going to need for this project. Obviously your trim goes without saying. I have a miter saw station set up here. You're going to need that obviously to cut your trim. Measuring tape, pencil, pin nailer, glue, chalk liner, and a finish nailer. I always have a cutter handy just in case. The pin nailer I'm going to use alongside the glue to form my boxes before putting them up on the wall. I find that to be much easier, quicker, and more accurate, so I don't have to take a level every time I put a piece of trim, make sure it's square and it's level. I build my box, put it up. This is optional if you don't have the pin nailer, okay? Finish nailer, obviously, to put the boxes onto the wall. I have one more point to make about that. I'll come back to it. 2-inch spacer, because that's the space that I'm going to use between my boxes. So again, instead of measuring every single time, and to be more accurate, I use a space block. Quick note on adhering those boxes to the wall. I'm only using my finish nailer. I'm not concerned with hitting a stud. These things are featherweight. They're extremely light. And I go back around and I caulk everything in. Caulk has adhesive in it, so it will help keep those boxes in place as well. If you don't like this, that's fine. You can go ahead and use glue on the back of these boxes, mount them, and then nail them on if that's your level of comfort. I like to pick out the picture frame trim first because it helps me understand my measurements here on the wall and how big of a box I'm gonna make. So let's go over measurements. For me, this is the subject wall. It's 11.5 feet. In addition to, don't forget the baseboard, and that's about another inch on each side because I have baseboard and shoe molding. So it's 1 inch on each side. So my total is 11 feet, 8 inches. Let's translate that on paper to see how many boxes we can put in here. Here's the math. I hope you can see this. So I have 140 inches total, which is 11 feet, 8 inches. And my box size that I'd like is, that I want to build, is 30 inches wide by 17 tall. And I want 4 boxes. So 4 times 30, that gives me a total of 120 inches. So now I need to find out the space between the boxes. I have 140 total, I need 120, so my delta is 20 inches. So that's going to be what I can use for the spaces between the boxes. I want to have 4 boxes, excuse me. So, and I want to space them 2 inches apart, which means that I'll need 3 spaces of 2 inches. That will equal to 6. So now 6 subtracted from 20 is going to give me 14 inches, which is my leftover space, and that I'm going to use equally between the first box and the last box at 7 inches each. Here's a wall that I completed. So picking up from what we just said, 7 inches at the beginning, 7 inches at the end, and then you have 2, 2, 2 between the 4 boxes, and that's the 20-inch space. Also, to match this set of boxes, I'm going to use the same drop distance from the chair rail to the box, and in this case I used 6 inches. Don't worry so much about the bottom. Well, in my case I had to be a little higher because I have those register vents that come up. In your case, you may want to keep it the same way, and that's perfectly fine. If you want to have an equal distance between the top and the bottom of the box, well, you just got to change your measurements accordingly, but there is no one standard way of doing these boxes. Back to this wall, I went ahead and measured 6 inches down and 7 inches in, and that's where I'm gonna strike my line to make sure that all the boxes are level. To do this, I use a chalk line. That's the easiest and quickest way, and that's your first tip. Now we can get some cutting going. Here's my second tip for you. Knowing that we're gonna go 17 inches tall and 30 inches wide, these are gonna be all my cuts. So instead of measuring every single time you wanna cut a piece, what you wanna do is, if you have a similar setup to this, what you wanna do is mark your 17, so from here, from the beginning of this board to here, that's my 17, and this is my 30. What this will allow me to do is every time I have the cut, I just gotta line my piece of wood, mark it, and go to cut it. So that's gonna make the process go much faster. So to make my cuts, again, I line it up there, and I come in here, and I mark my cut. Make sure my teeth sit exactly where I need that cut. Once you have all your trim cut, then you set up a nice flat surface to build those boxes. In case you're wondering what's going on here, the glue got a little hard, so instead of tossing it out, I just kind of got a bunch of it out here, and it's still pretty easy to work with this way. Just didn't want to waste it. Hold the angle tight, and you pretty much repeat for all corners. Now that the boxes are finished, they're nice and square, level, all you gotta do is nail them to the wall. So the nice thing about the chalk line is I don't have to think of anything. I just basically match the top of my box to the line and nail it. Grab the 2-inch spacer and mark your 2 inches, and then put the next box in. Final step before the paint is we go around and caulk all the edges. And here's the finished result. Caulked all my edges. And now we're ready for the painter to come in. One thing I did not mention before is when you're measuring for your boxes, make sure you don't end up where an outlet is. So once you figure out the size of the boxes that you want to do, in my case it was 30 inches, maybe in your case it's less, it's longer, whatever. Dry fit that measurement onto the wall first to make sure that you're not hitting an outlet or anything else that is going to be in the way. Otherwise, you'll have to redo the job. And there you go, guys. This is an easy, really easy DIY project that you can tackle on a weekend, and it will improve the look of your space, and it will also add value to your home. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. If you found the video helpful, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel to support it. I'd really appreciate that. I'll see you guys on the next one.